Morning, everyone. This is Sarah with Harrisburg Project. I logged in just a little bit early. So we'll get started here in about 3 minutes. Today we're going to go over the private facility claim for Fund B. That's for tuition only, so not residential. We have a big group today. So if you weren't able to get your handout, I think it was yesterday that I realized I didn't have the notes up yet, so I apologize for being late. I should have the Fund S notes up today or tomorrow as well for next week. So if you are able to get those and you do want to print them out, they are in your handout section in the GoToWebinar menu. So that looks a little bit different now than it used to. It's the little piece of paper with the paper clip. And then if you want to ask questions during the session, you just look for that little question mark icon and you can type your questions there and they pop up over here on my screen as we're going along. So I look over there a lot, that's why. Looks like we've got about another minute before we're going to get started. We have about half logged in, so I don't know if we're going to have a good turnout or not today. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go over today the Fund B. So these are private day tuition claims, show you how to do those in iStar Plus. This is a much simpler claim than the orphanage claim that we've looked at. You should be getting invoices. You'll have a daily rate to go by. So somebody's telling you the cost, and that is very beneficial when we're working on claims. So pretty straightforward as far as how you enter that. Some of you may not have entered this in iStar Plus last year, so if you entered all of these in Classic, the look may be a little bit different to you, but it's still pretty easy. So you can ask me questions during the session. Just ask them in the questions pod, and I will answer those as we're going throughout. So you don't have to hold your questions until the end. And again, I did mention I uploaded the notes if you weren't able to get those. You don't have to print those out, but if you want to, they are available to you. So it's going to be the same as what we're going through today. So it looks like our registrations, or our logins have stalled. So I think we're good to go. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what we're going to go over first is going to be the due dates. When is this data due? When are your correction periods? How much time do you have? And just so you know up front, you have plenty of time for this one. We'll show you where the reimbursement manual is. I think some people don't know this manual exists, so I keep it a screen in here just to show you where you can obtain that manual. It tells the rules on all of the claims. It's basically how we determine what iStar should do. I'll talk about some private facility approval tips, things you need to keep in mind. We'll do the calendar method of computing days for this claim. You cannot change it. We'll do the claims data entry. I'll show you how to calculate it, where to enter it, and then the reports that you have available for you at the end. So this year, the tuition claim is due on August 14th for a private facility. So Fund B is going to be due again August 14th this year. The 15th is the statutory due date. It falls on a Saturday. Anytime a due date falls on a Saturday, we bring it one day forward. So it's the 14th this year. Remember that this is for regular and summer term tuition, not residential at this point, just the tuition claim. And it's a combined claim for regular days and summer days. So if they went to summer school, they have a term of both, then you would be claiming for both the regular days enrolled and the summer days enrolled. Okay. Now, once that date passes, you will no longer be able to enter any Fund B tuition records into iStar Plus. You cannot add them. If you don't have them added by then you're out of luck. All right. After that date, starting the next day on the 15th through September 15th, if you have any errors on your approval records for these Fund Bs, you can still correct them. So you can make edits and you can make corrections, but you cannot add. And the same thing for the claim, except it's going to allow you to edit through September 30th. So after the 14th, no additions for Fund B tuition. Okay. So you got a nice correction period for this, like 6 weeks. Okay. So it's kind of like the orphanage correction period. You have a pretty long time on that. As far as the manual goes, if you go to our website, right in the center of the screen is the manuals and guides section. That's where you're going to find the claim instructions. You'll see the approval instructions for student, the approval instructions for personnel, and then the claim instructions for students. So that describes the steps. It shows you all the calculations for the reimbursement. It is basically the rules and how we determine what iStar Plus needs to do. Okay, so it's not something you necessarily have to go and print out, but that will tell you, well, really all of our claims are in there. So everything that we teach about, that's where it's coming from. So how are you going to find your Fund B claims in iStar Plus? You can go to Student Analytics, and in the Fund Code column, you're looking for a B. So put a B there, click the magnifying glass, and then click the shopping cart. Okay, so go to Student Approval or Student Analytics. In the bottom grid, type in Fund Code B as in boy, click the magnifying glass, click the shopping cart. Clicking the shopping cart will open those Fund B records over in Student Central. That will give you your existing list of Fund Code B students. So notice I said your existing list. If you still have Fund Code B students to add, remember you can't add them after August 14th. So only the Bs that exist in the system already, that you've already entered, will come up under analytics. We don't know if they're an A now or something else, or if they're not in there at all. We obviously can't pull them up. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is make sure that when you run this list, that all the students are there that you have at Therapeutic Days. Okay. So that's how you're going to locate your Fund B kids. Now, if you already know who they are and you just want to work student by student, you don't have to do this. You can just go over into Student Central and pull them up by name. Okay, you don't have to work on it this way, but if you want to pull all of your Bs at once, Student Analytics is where you'll start. Okay, I don't see any questions, so hopefully that's all making sense. So I just want to emphasize that what we're talking about is the tuition claim. We're not talking about residential claims, okay? So residential claims will also appear as a Fund Code B, but they're not due until November. So what we are looking for when we are talking about our tuition claims is going to be Fund B records that have the little T next to them. Not all tuition records have a coinciding residential record, okay? We have very few residential students in the state compared to private day, but we just don't want anybody to be confused. And I do want anyone that has residential to recognize that we don't collect that at this time. That's going to be due in November. So you have plenty of time, and the school year on residential even runs differently. So it's September 1st to August 31st. So a lot of differences with residential. So we just want to make that distinction. Also, your EE codes will be different. If you have tuition, it's going to be an 08. If you have residential, it's going to be a 9 or 10. So again, I just want you to realize we are talking about the tuition students, not residential. So residential is going to be due in November. I think it's November 2nd this year is when residential is due. So I mentioned earlier that the method of computing days for tuition for Fund B is calendar. That's the default and you cannot change it. Okay, so all of the approved private facility calendars are in iStar. So we're able to tap into those in that system where the private facilities submit their calendars. So we are able to look at your approval record to see how long the student was there. We then can look at the calendar. We can calculate the days enrolled and the days in session for you. So you don't have to type them in. Okay. So it's going to default to that. It's not going to let you change it to any of the other methods. They don't apply. And then again, the beauty of that is that your days enrolled and your days in session will enter automatically. So the system's smart enough to know if they were there 5 days or 150 days. Okay, and it will calculate that for you. I'm going to tell you, there was a year, I think, at the beginning of iStar where we didn't have those calendars yet. And wow, it was crazy, crazy. You had to count them and make sure you got them right, make sure everything balanced out. So your data entry on your claim record for these kids is going to be very little. Of course, the default is calendar. You won't be able to change it. In the calendar dropdown, you're going to pick the school. So that calendar will be underneath that school name. Your FTE will default to 1. Almost always you leave it at 1. Very rarely, if ever, would you change it, because odds are you want to recuperate all of the costs that you are entering for Fund B. Okay, so even if they go a half a day to this facility, you still don't want to change the FTE because it'll cut your claim in half. So we very, very rarely, again, if ever, want to edit the FTE for Fund B. So let it default. If you do have a term of B for both, you're going to want to include the summer days. So you're going to need to check this box. And then the days will all fill in for you. And then you're going to be supplying the costs per pupil. Okay, if they qualify for ESY but don't end up going, do I still include summer? No, you would leave it unchecked. And that is the reason that it's set up that way, because most people would think, well, if they put a term of both, then why would I have to click that? Sometimes you're right, they don't go. So it might be written in the IEP, so it's on the approval record as both, but they don't go. And that would be proper because your approval record is supposed to match the IEP. So you're not doing anything wrong by having it like that either. You just would not check the box to populate the summer days. You don't want to claim anything that you're not billed for. So the days enrolled, days in session, obviously you're going to fill in. Your ADE field on that claim record will automatically complete as well. It's the days enrolled divided by the days in session, so there's nothing you need to do with that. The cost per pupil is what you will supply. So you're going to take the total invoice amounts for the entire year, regular and summer term if it applies. Okay? So you're going to look at all of your invoices and add those up. And then you would also want to check and make sure that that does not exceed the number of days enrolled times the daily rate. So you want to look at that both ways. Okay? It cannot exceed, your total invoices cannot exceed that maximum amount. So if you took 180 days times 200, you're not going to be able to spend or to enter any more than that into iStar. But they should match, right? So just keep that in mind. Those should match. So how do we calculate the reimbursement? Well, for this reimbursement, you have to spend 2 times your district's per cap. We still are waiting on per caps before I get that question. I'm hearing that they're probably going to load a bunch of them, and then that there are around 20 something districts that don't have them yet. So hopefully we'll see something soon. Regardless, you have to spend 2 times that per cap before you get any reimbursement. So this is the calculation. It shows you take your per cap times the ADE. So most ADEs, this is half a year is what they're saying. This kid went half a year. So it's 2,500 times 2. So 5,000 is what you have to exceed. So then it's going to take the cost, subtract what you have to reach, and that would be 6,500, your total reimbursement. Okay. So the days enrolled divided by the days in session makes your ADE. So again, this would be an example of a student that went half the year. They were only there half the number of days. Okay. Now, there's a proration on this, so don't expect the 6,500. This year, I think the proration, or 24-25, I think the proration was 66% that you got of that. Okay. So that's how the reimbursement is calculated. So you put in your total invoices, which should equal days enrolled times the daily rate. If you round, when you do that math, if you round up, you'll get an error. You just truncate the number, okay? You just drop the change. So days enrolled times the daily rate. And it should match your invoices. If your invoices show less than that days times the rate, then you claim less. You claim what you paid as long as it's equal to or less than that max amount. Okay? So whatever you claim needs to match the invoice. If you get an audit, you don't want to have claimed more than what you paid. If you are curious or unsure about the days enrolled that are populating, you can look at the private facility search. It's on our website under resources. We link to that. It's ISBE's site, and it has the calendar. So if you click on electronic calendar over here, it will show you the calendar for that facility. So you can see how those days were calculated. So if you're curious about your days enrolled and the days in session, that's where it's coming from. So make sure that all of your records have the correct term on the approval. So it's supposed to match the approval or match the IEP. So first, make sure you do that. Look at your private facility numbers. Make sure that what you're being charged matches the approved rate for the facility you have chosen. So remember, if you're sending a child to a facility and they have an individual aid, they probably don't have the regular number. They probably have an intensive number. It's going to be different. It represents a different dollar amount. So you can have multiple rates at the same physical facility. Make sure you're picking the right one. So another way to do that is to check the per diem against your invoice. What are you being charged? Is that what matches your bill? If your bill's a lot higher, odds are you're probably paying an intensive rate and you need to change the facility number in iStar. So that's something you won't be able to do after September 15th. Those corrections you won't be able to make after September 15th. So what happens is we'll have people that are going to use the claims correction period. They get to like September 29th and they call us and they say, this doesn't match up. And we'll say, sorry, it's too late. You're going to have to claim the lower amount. So you don't get as much back. You don't get back what you should. All right, if we have multiple records for a student, do we need to enter claim amounts in each record? Yes, you would prorate those. So it'll be by the number of days for each record. So if you have a record that's 50 days, it's going to be $50 times, or 50 days times the rate. If you have another one that's 80 days, it'll be 80 days times the rate. So yes. They should reflect, the dollar amount on each record should reflect that number of days. And we missed the report, it looks like. So let me see if I can get iStar pulled up here. It's the same place all the other reports are, but I should have had it in here because I said I would. Okay, this takes just a second to log in here. So I'm going to show you the report because I left it out of the slides accidentally. Well, all right, there we go. So it's going to be under reports, and you're going to go to the student for type. And then your category will be reimbursement and claims. Hit your magnifying glass, and it's student reimbursement by fund. Oh, well, let me try one other way. See if this helps any. Okay, let me try something else. Okay. All right, let's try this one. Nope, just not going to work for me today. Well, what you would choose is the private facility in the drop down, and it would show you just those students. So I do have another question. How do we claim students for whom we pay tuition to attend another public school? You can do that the calendar method, manual method, or the calendar cost method. If they are sending you just a amount for the whole year, then you can do calendar method. If they're sending you, if this kid didn't go all year and so they're sending you a specific cost, so it's just for the time that child was there, then you can do the calendar cost method. If they're just sending you their per cap, I would just do the calendar method, let it do the math if it needs to. It just kind of depends on what they are giving you. So it's the same kind of idea. It's just you're going to enter in what you've been given. Okay. Do you have any other questions about the claim? Okay, if they're Fund A and you're getting billed from another district, you won't have a claim for them in iStar. If you're not getting an error, then don't worry about it. If you put the cents in and it didn't give you an error, don't worry about it. If you have kids that are going to summer, I would wait until it's over. You don't know if they're going to go the whole time. I mean, I think it's just better to wait than to do something twice, right? So it's up to you. But yeah, I mean, this isn't our priority right now per se. I just do like to do, have at least one of each training in by mid-June. I want to have all, have one of each one. Just because some people may not work in July. So just trying to give everybody a chance to be a part of it. Okay, if you have NDADs and you have multiple entries, the calendar will automatically know that. So it puts the days enrolled in automatically per record. So for the report, you're just going to go to reports. Make sure you go to the student reimbursement and claim and check that first report. That's how you're going to get it. We almost made it. If you go in and do that, you're going to see we were super close. So. Okay, do you have any other questions about the Fund B claim? Okay, so this one, unrelated to this topic, if we're a K-12 district, I don't need to add all of our 8th graders with an exit code of 08, elementary to high school, do I? You're not going to exit them, but you are going to have to change their serving information for the new school year. So you can wait until the new year. I mean, but you won't exit them, no, because you're not a separate district. Okay, what's the message for F27? If it says it exceeds max tuition rate, then you're going to need to delete your entry and put it back in. Don't round and don't put the cents in. Oh, regular claim days exceed approval days. Hit the update days button. I'll show you how to do that for everyone. It's under student and there's claims analytics. If you hit search and this checkbox here, is that right? Update calendar days. That's supposed to do that for all the Fund Bs at once, so you don't get those messages. Sometimes you don't have to do that. I don't know. I think that it's if people have done some data entry like in pieces, maybe that's how it ends up with odd days. I'm not sure. But that update days should get it. All right, you don't have to have separate approval records for Fund B. It's one record. If you have more than one record, that's fine from doing end ads, but it does not have to be a separate summer record for Fund B. You do have to for Fund S, Funds D, E, and F. So Orphanage and Fund S as in Sam have to have a separate summer term record, but not for B. Okay, I don't see any other questions, but I'll wait a few minutes just to make sure. We do. All right, does middle school exit if different district than the high school? If they're going to a different district for high school, then yes, you're going to exit them from the middle school. If it's a different district. So sometimes we'll have districts that are pre-K through 8 only, and some that are only high school, 9 through 12. They are separate school districts. So they're not like a pre-K through 12. So if they are separate school districts, then yes. So yes, Fund S as in Sam is very similar to Fund B, as in the days times the approved rate, but it has 2 separate records. So it's a little bit different, but the calculation is the same. If you have rates that are still at $1, you probably need to, let's see. I would check back in about a week, maybe like next Thursday or next Friday. That June purchase care review board meeting is, I think, the 9th. I think it's the second Tuesday of the month. Really testing me here. Anyway, after that, if you still see that you have $1 rate on some of your facilities, you probably need to reach out to us and we need to double check with ISB that there's not something we need to know. I haven't heard anything about any trouble facilities yet, but this is about the time of year when we do. Oh, it was yesterday. Okay. We may not have them in yet. So check on this Friday and see if the rate's set. If it's not, let us know. Okay, so there's some new guidance out about who handles summer school, who handles ESY for kids that are going to a high school district. And the entry, the kids might still go to the high school, but the entry is going to be done by the middle school still. So they do not do the entry. They're not going to do the SIS enrollment, and they're not going to do the iStar record. So the middle school will still be the resident, and the serving will be the high school district. And yes, this is a little different than what we've done in the past, but for the division that works on the cohorts in SIS, the graduation cohorts, put out some new guidance, and that's what we're going to have to follow now for that. I don't know if it's up on I don't know if it's up on their website yet. They didn't, I guess they were waiting to answer some questions and had maybe a Q&A from this webinar that they held. So it's going to be on, it's to do with SIS, and it's about the enrollments. So we have to follow whatever the enrollments are. So it's, again, if you want to look on the page, it's going to be where they have the graduation cohort information. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So I will go ahead and let you guys go. If you think of anything afterwards, just let us know. Let me see, maybe one more thing here. So if we do the enrollment for ESY, will we build a high school at the end of the summer? Yes. Yes, you will build a high school at the end of the summer if you were the middle school. The high school will bill you. I'm sorry. Because you're going to get the reimbursement if there is any, if there was a claim. So the high school will bill the middle school if they're providing the services. Now, this is only when it's separate districts that you have to do the billings, okay? If you're a CUSD, that's not necessary. So reimbursement goes to the resident district. Okay. All right. So this recording will be up probably maybe Friday, or no, actually we're closed on Friday. So maybe on Monday we'll have this recording up. So if you think of anything else, just let us know. We're happy to help. And remember that we have a couple other things coming up in June. So keep your eyes peeled for those emails as well. So I will see you all at the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.